My next guest is a professional mixed martial artist. He is also a professional boxer, a man of many, many talents. He has a combined combat sports record of 5-2. He's a young, exciting guy that I'm excited to bring onto my show. His name's Alexander Schenk.
I love the stuff you're doing. You're growing so fast in just a short amount of time I've known about you. So it's definitely a very cool, very honor for me also to be on here and have you respect me enough to have me on your show and see your fans and your people. So it makes me feel good.
Well, I have to tell you, man, the show's getting more popular. You're getting more popular. I see what you're doing in competition. I got my crash course from you watching you fight Moon Cosme. But I've also watched you compete additional times over the years. And every single time I see you compete, it's a different version of you that goes out there. I feel like you're a very young guy, but also like you're very technical. You're a very advanced striker, and that is like the key part of your game that like stands out about you. But I kind of wanted to ask you, Alexander, like when you think about just the game of combat sports in general, from when you very first started and took your very first amateur bout to today, now here you have five, what, six, seven professional contests under your belt. What has changed about the game and the amount of time that you've been doing it from your perspective?
No, so that's a very, very good question. I think that there's been so many changes. We could probably go on a list, and this whole interview could be just of changes from when I've started till now. But I think the biggest and the most noticeable change, and something I use a lot, is the calf kick has, I think from 2016-ish up until now, it's just exploded. Vincent Henderson is the first person that I've seen do it, but I heard that somebody before him did it, but he's the first person I've seen do it. But for some reason, his was never as like impactful as they are now. But I think the calf kick is the definitely the biggest thing. And then also submissions off people's back. Like people are getting better at submissions off their back. Usually back in the day, used to be back in the day, if you're on your back, you're losing. You've lost a fight. But people like Paul Craig, people like Ryan Hall, people are submitting people from their back in MMA while there's punches possibly being thrown, getting cracked, you get knocked out. So I think submissions off the back and as well as calf kicks. I think those are the two biggest changes since I've first started to where I'm at now.
One of the questions I had about the calf kick, and I'd love to get your opinion on it, is you're right. It's a total game changer. There's not a lot of meat there. And then somebody like you, I think of a karate kind of guy that is very good with the kicks, and it only takes one or two from you, and like that whole leg shuts down, and then the fight's over. You're compromised. The fight's over. In your opinion, why is it that that kick is so effective? Does it have to do that people spar with pads all the time and have the shin guards on? Does that like become a detriment to a point in your opinion?
Honestly, I think the reason the kick is so effective is, like you said, there's not much there. If you're getting kicked there, there's not much there. It's not that there's not pads or something. I just think that it's just a very vulnerable spot, just like vulnerable spot, just like a temple or something like that. That's just a soft spot that the human body was unfortunately made to where that's one of the weaker points. And then like my guy O'Malley, he has the perennial nerve is over there, and yeah, I just think it's just one of those things that the human body was made with. And it's just unfortunate that it's as effective as it is for certain people. But people like me, I feel like it's super good because I feel like it keeps people in a game. People don't want to wrestle after that because it's hard to put weight on that leg. So I like it a lot. I think it's a very good thing. But there are definitely ways to stop it because I've never been calf kicked where it did anything to me because I know how to stop it and how to use it. So.
Is there anything about MMA in general that you see changing over time? Like, do you feel like we're on the precipice of like additional changes that we haven't fully seen quite yet that we're about to, like another version of the calf kick, but something completely different? Do you think that there's like a game changer that's going to make a big impact on MMA soon?
So that's also a good question. I do think there are some things that are coming up right now, but I don't think it's necessarily a technique as the calf kick. The biggest thing I see now is like people my age or people even younger. I have kids in here right now doing this class, kids that are 16, 17. I got real youngins. And I think the biggest thing right now is back in the day, people started in karate. They started in boxing. They started in wrestling. But now these kids here, they're learning MMA. They're learning the whole thing. Right. That's their base. Their base is MMA, which I think that is going to be the biggest difference, because you can see now there's like younger kids my age, kids like me, people like me. They're good at everywhere. They're good everywhere. They have grappling, they have striking, they have cardio. They're in good shape. They're strong. They're athletic. And I think it's just because being able to start in MMA is just crazy, because rather than just being good at one thing, now you're good at everything. And now if the fight is not going good on the feet, you can take them down. If it's not going good on the ground, you can stay on your feet. So I think that's honestly the biggest change, just from my perspective, but I think that's the biggest change right now.
You turned pro not that long ago, and you've been very, very active. Like we mentioned before in the introduction, you've taken a boxing fight for Gamebred. You fought in a Bareknuckle MMA fight. You've been on their icon cards. And then I know you've also fought in Tennessee a few times in regular mixed martial arts bouts. In your professional journey from the very beginning till today, like what are some of like the biggest things that you've learned about yourself, and how has your game evolved in the short amount of time you've been professional?
Ooh, that's another good question. You over here, you're on it. But I think that something that I learned from myself is, as an amateur, I was so fearful of every fight, and not necessarily because of my opponent, but just because of me. I have an ego, and back at my gym and in my city, I'm like the guy. Everybody's like, oh, that's Xander. Xander's good at this. Xander's good at that. And Xander's going to win this fight. Xander's going to do right. So I feel like there's like I used to feel like there was a lot of pressure on me. I was like, dang, I have to go out there. I have to win, and I have to win exceptionally. I can't just kind of win. I can't hit it. I just felt like there was so much pressure on me. And as an amateur, I would win fights, and I wouldn't win them good enough in my eyes, and I would be disappointed. Now I'd hang my head and I'd be upset. And one of my coaches, Jacob Kilburn, he told me, he said, you have to enjoy every victory. He said, if you start to beat yourself up on wins because you won the fight, but you're beating yourself up, he said, you're going to grow to hate the sport. And I 1,000,000% agree. Now every fight I celebrate it. I think it's a good, and I celebrate maybe the weekend. So the fights are Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I celebrate Monday, back to work. Monday, back to the gym. I don't care if I'm hurt, injured, anything. I'm back training. You have to be back training, because if I'm not training, the next guy I'm fighting is probably training right now. So I just think of it like that. But what I would say to try to like put it into one word is, I would say confidence and belief, because just the confidence in myself. I've won these fights, and I beat people that I probably shouldn't have beat, and I beat people in positions and things that I shouldn't have beat them in. And I think just that me being like, hey, I can compete with this guy in this aspect of sports. I can compete with this guy in this. And with the pressure thing, I was told my coach, Jacob Kilburn, he said, pressure doesn't exist. He said, just like everybody thinks you're going to go out there and you're going to beat this guy, you're going to kill this guy, your opponent, his friends and family think the same thing. His friends and family are like, yeah, you're going to go out there, you're going to wreck this guy, you're going to kill. Everybody thinks that. So reality, there's really no pressure.
No, that's a very good point. And I think it's also just envisioning myself that I'm you. It's also where you place it too, right? So it's like, okay, well, I mean, you could work at a Mexican restaurant and count beans. And if you have a boss that's a big enough jerk to you and they're yelling at you because you're not counting fast enough, that's pressure right there. So it's all about where you place it, and like what skills and like coping mechanisms that you develop, I think, over time to help manage it. And it's part of being a prize fighter. Like, if you can't stand the pressure, like, you're going to find that out when you're an amateur, and you're probably not even going to make it to your level, because this is a game that is very psychologically taxing, I would imagine. And it takes a very special person to not only compete, but to just make the walk, even if you're an amateur, because you're talking about doing something that is, I can't think of a more stressful environment. I can't think of something that would psych you out more mentally than making a walk to fight somebody that you don't have to fight, but you're going to do it for fun, for a little bit of money. Like, I can't think of something more insane than that.
I agree 100%. I think fighting is the craziest thing in the world. And on top of that, most people, like I know me, myself, I work 56 hours a week as a pipe fitter. And then I have a kid, and then I'm training, and then I'm teaching classes. So it's not for everybody. Everybody can't just be able to work, be a dad, have a life, train, and still go out there and compete and still be successful in this. But it's definitely not for everybody. But I believe that I have a very good support system. People in my family, the people, my friends, my support group is the reason that I think I can do what I do as well as I do. I know that once I get to the ability where I can train full time, I would be terrified to fight me. I would be surprised if I get fights, because if I'm training full time, I don't think I'll be getting touched in fights anymore. But maybe I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I see a new version of you. That's for sure. Back in 2022 when you fought Cosme, I circled this one. I knew you were a tough dude, but I circled it. I was like, he's a really young guy, and Moon has been in this game for a very long time. We'll see what happens. It was a freaking that was one of my favorite fights of 2022. I told you that, and I watched that fight several times, and I thought it was highly entertaining. You held your own, and you proved that you belong in this game. You've gone on to achieve a lot of success in this sport. When I think of you, though, when I think of like that one moment of adversity, it was against Timothy Cuamba not that long ago at Icon FC 6. This was a fight that I was thinking about. I was like, okay, if I'm Cuamba, we're going right to the wrestling. Like, I'm not standing with this dude. He's too dangerous. He's too freaking strong. He's too freaking big. There's just no way. I'm not doing that. I'm going to make it a very technical fight. And that's exactly what he did. He closed the distance. He was really heavy on the grappling, really heavy on the wrestling. And after that fight, what was it that you and your coaches saw? Like, when you looked at that, like, what were some of the things that you knew you needed to work on after that fight?
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk on touch on everything you said with the Amun fight. There were things in the Amun fight that Amun did, but he just wasn't big enough, strong enough, or maybe even good enough to do the things that Timothy did. But there were things that he did that I would do, and he put me in a bad position, and he just quite didn't do or wasn't able to do what Tim did. And also, by the way, just a little side note, I do not count my loss against Amun as a loss. My ego won't let me, because I watched the fight and I'm like, I think I won that fight. So my ego is like, oh, I whooped that boy Moon. And me and Moon are cool. I have no problem with Moon. We just was talking 40 minutes ago. We were just talking. So me and Moon are cool. But I'm sure he thinks he won the fight. I think he won it. But I'm sure we think the same thing. But like back to what you originally asked, there are mistakes that I've made in a Moon fight. Well, let's take it back. As an amateur, there were mistakes that I made, but I was able to. People that were fighting just weren't as good as Tim was. Tim is training at a high level gym with high level people, and so the things that the people that have put me in these places were doing, and they would catch me in bad things, but I was able to get out. He knew exactly how to do it, and if I do this, what to do after that. And I think after that fight, me and my coaches, we knew I have my biggest hole is not just grappling, but my biggest hole in grappling is people having my back. People having my back is my biggest hole, and it's been it for a while. And then I would fight people who were a little bit better than the last guy, and I would do better in that position, but still wouldn't be, winning the position or something. And so this guy, if you watch my fights, my first round is, iffy. Second round is my worst round, and the third round is my best round. And I think that he seen that. He has really high level coaches, and they seen that. And they were like, well, we're going to go out there, we're going to take his back, and he's going to do what we want him to do. He's going to post out. We're going to grab that arm. We're going to trap it. We're going to punch him. He's going to, and they knew exactly what to do based off what I already knew my mistake was. And I just have to keep working and keep getting better, keep getting different looks, keep getting people. I just need to stay having people on my back, and, so on and so off and so forth. And my last fight that I just had, the Bareknuckle one, I tried to prove that I could have stood with the guy. I could have outstriked him. I could have knocked him out, I believe. But I wanted to prove that I have gotten better at the grappling. The things that I did to that guy, I believe, are the things that happened to me against Timothy. I think Timothy did those exact same things to me, but rather than a choke, he was ground and pounded. And I just wanted to prove that I have gotten better. And, I just know that the sky's the limit. And I would love to fight Timothy again. I would love to fight Amun again. Anybody that's ever beat me, we can run it back. And I think the fight will be very different.
You went ahead. It was after Icon FC 6. That happened in December of 2022. And only a few months later, you take that MMA Bareknuckle fight. And number one, when you told people after you'd signed the papers, like, yo, I'm about to get on like an MMA bare knuckle fight. What was the reception? Were people like, bro, like, what are you freaking thinking about? Like, you're crazy. Like, you were already crazy to begin with, but now you're double crazy. Like, what kind of reception did you get when you told everyone, once you were allowed to talk about it, that you were about to take this fight?
Yeah, so exactly like you said, my fight name is the Pretty Boy, and I usually don't get marks or I don't get anything on my face. And when I told people that I was doing bare knuckle MMA, people were like, "You ready for that, Xander? You think you can handle this bare knuckle MMA?" And I'm not gonna say I was having people that doubt me, but people were definitely like, "Oh, this is dangerous. This is a lot more dangerous than gloved MMA or whatever." But honestly, it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. You have gloves, you don't have gloves. My goal, whoever I fight, whatever I fight, whatever type of fighting it is to hit him and not get hit. So regardless of what was going to happen in this bare knuckle, my goal was just not to get hit. I told everybody, I was like, "Are you ready for this bare knuckle? Are you ready to get a hit bare knuckle?" And I was like, "I'm ready to not get touched this whole entire fight." I said, "I'll be surprised if he lands a strike." And as the fight happened, he didn't land a strike. So I did everything I said, but also proved that I can grapple, and I have improved is what I feel.
Can you talk to me a little bit? Like, what was that experience like grappling and engaging in the clinch and using your wrestling, using your grappling without gloves on? Like, what was that experience like? Because going into this fight, I was thinking to myself, I actually put a post on it on my Instagram story. I was like, I bet you we're about to see a lot of chokes tonight. I was like, people are going to get choked out. 100%. I'm like 99.99999% sure. And then sure enough, there's like at least a handful of them. You got submission of the night. You got a submission of the night bonus, but like, what was that experience like? Like, was it kind of like freeing? Was it pretty cool? And like, just setting up your submissions, like that had to have been so much easier without the 4-ounce gloves on.
Yeah, so grappling with gloves and without gloves are night and day. Like when I teach this class, I have people put their MMA gloves on with no intentions to strike, just to grapple. Grappling with MMA gloves on is a game changer, especially like rear naked chokes, trying to get those behind somebody's neck with a glove on is different. And another reason that you've seen a bunch of grappling, I know for me, I don't know about everybody else, but punching somebody with bare knuckle, whether you're winning or losing, punching somebody with bare knuckles is not good for your hands. So I knew, I was like, if I'm throwing a hand strike, it's going to be with elbows or something, but I don't plan on punching at all. And other people had the same idea. You rarely seen people punch. But I'm not going to lie, the people that did strike, that did it through hands, they were throwing them things. And I can guarantee you that them hands were not feeling good the next day.
And I was also thinking to myself, you taking this fight, every fight is a risk. We understand. When we're talking about a bare knuckle MMA fight, I think it's double the risk because you look at it, and to your point, it's like you get touched one time, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get a nasty cut. And without any padding, what does that do for your recovery? A deeper cut, that's you're talking adding months on to your recovery. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, like you go out there, it doesn't go your way, or you get cut pretty good, you're talking about maybe a 2 or 3 month in between fights to maybe 6 or 9 months. And you had to have been thinking to yourself like, I'm not getting cut, like it just can't happen.
100%. My thing is like I said, I just was telling everybody, I was like, I am prepared to go into this and not get touched. That's what I'm training for. My training partner, I was training with two people that really helped me, was my teammate Elijah Hill, my teammate Adonis Bonilla. Adonis is fighting this Saturday, as a matter of fact, May 20th. But they helped me so much because when I'm on pads or when I'm sparring, their goal is to just pressure me and throw them things at me, because I know that I don't want to get hit. So if I'm over here, if a person knows what I'm throwing on the pads and they still can't hit me, I was so confident that going into the fight, somebody that has no idea what I'm going to do is not going to be able to hit me. So I think that my team, just my preparation for not getting hit was the thing. Because like you said, getting hit bare knuckle is different. It's like you said, one shot, you're busted open most likely. And it was just so different. And I never, ever did pads bare knuckle. I did not train on bare knuckle. My whole game plan is I originated my combat sports career 8 years old in karate. And I told everybody, I'm going out here and I'm putting a karate clinic on this dude. I'm going to just kick him. No punches. I don't need to punch bare knuckle on no pads because I'm not punching. That's what I told everybody in the gym. That's what the plan was. And But yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely scary. I was definitely more nervous for that fight than any other fight, just based off of the thought of getting split open, getting cut or something. I just like, hell no, this is not for me.
Well, you went out there, you took care of business. Doesn't look like you were even in a fight a couple weeks ago. You look freaking amazing. And at what point do you get back home to Tennessee and then say to yourself, like, I mean, we're close, we're still in shape, and you know, if an opportunity is out there, we're going to take it. Like, was that kind of your plan to jump right back into the fold, considering you didn't take any damage whatsoever from the bare knuckle fight?
Yeah, 100%. So I did 1,000,000% plan to fight immediately, but believe it or not, the fight that I have just taken, June 11th, the fight that I've just taken, nobody knows that, but you know, June 11th, after I won my bare knuckle fight, I looked at my, social media because it was blowing up, of course. And I always look and I scroll to see people that I prefer to, I'll look at this message right now. And I seen one from Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship. And they were like, we need a 145 for June 11th. And I was like, I'm not hurt. I'm in shape. June 11th, I need a win. And the guy that I'm fighting is a Bellator vet. So that's also good. And I was like, let me talk to the coaches and see if they can get the time off, and I'm there. And now it's here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that fight. Your opponent is James Bennett. He trains out of Rothwell MMA, which is a very very good gym. I've interviewed a couple of the guys from that gym. Not him though, so I can't say I know a lot about this guy specifically, but from what I know about that gym in particular, they like to strike. They definitely like to wrestle. They can do a lot of things pretty well. That they all seem to be pretty balanced fighters over there. When you're looking at your opponent, can you tell me just a little bit without giving anything away? When you look at your opponent, like, are there some just general things about him that stand out to you?
Yeah, 100%. This guy, he is definitely more of a kickboxer, and that's good for me. I like people that want to strike. I like people like that. Those are the fights that I need right now to build my brand and build my image. But this guy, he is slow. No offense to him, I'm fast, but he's visibly slow. He's not gonna throw anything I've never seen in my life. He's not a flashy striker. He's not a high level boxer, high level kicker. I think he's known best for being tough. And if that's your best knowledge, your best trait. The guy that I fought, Nick Moppins, he was known for being tough. And being tough against me is you're a punching bag. That's all you become, is because you're going to be too slow. And this guy is shorter than Nick Moppins. He's going to be too short. He's going to be too small. I just feel like I'm going to be too advanced for him on the feet. And he's probably going to go out there and try to give me some grown man strength. And what people don't know is I'm way stronger than I appear to be. And he's going to try to grapple, or I'll try to grapple. Somebody's going to grapple. They'll be grappling. And then when the grappling happens, he's going to be very surprised on my strength, my everything. I think he'll be very surprised. I think he thinks he's going to come out here and he's going to bully me. He's going to walk me down. He's going to beat me up. That's what I think he thinks is going to happen. But I think he's just too basic for me. I think like we were talking about, people have learned their things and their things. And I think he just isn't as evolved as me. I'm no disrespect to the guy, no disrespect to him. But I just think that I've been doing this since I was 8 years old, and I'm 22 right now. Most of my life, over half of my life, I have been training and competing. And I knew from day one what I wanted to be. I knew from day one I wanted to be the best I could possibly be, pound for pound. Is what I said after my last fight. And I knew that was the goal. And so after work, I said, forget that homework, put that tape on. I'm trying to be the greatest there is. So I just thought I'm too advanced.
So there we go. I think you seem pretty confident about this one. It seems like stylistically it'll be a good matchup for you, all things considered. But I would kind of want to ask you is, like, post this fight, getting back into like the conventional MMA scene, like, what are some of your goals for the rest of this year? Obviously, we're halfway through the year. You could realistically fight maybe one more time, maybe two more times, maybe. just kind of depending on what happens. But like, what are some of the things that are your near-term goals between now and like, let's say the next like 12 to 18 months? What is it that you're trying to achieve?
So my goals, my closest goals is first to beat James Bennett. To beat James Bennett, that's my most important goal. That's all I'm focused on right now. But my goal is I want to be, and there's no disrespect to Gamebred. Some people were like, oh, I was talking about wanting to be in a big show, and some people were like, oh, thinking I'm disrespecting Gamebred. The people that know and understand fighting know that I meant no disrespect. Jorge, he knew I meant no disrespect by that. What I don't mean Gamebred isn't a big show. It's a big show for people who've been there, done that.
It's
a lot of the people in that car,
regional MMA. That's fair.
yeah, 100%. It was a huge show for regional MMA, a very big show. But that was, I just feel that's okay. That's my big show now, but that's not what I'm not selling for this. I'm not selling for that. There's a lot of people that don't know me. I want to be able to compete and win at the highest levels. The pinnacle of the sport is UFC. It's the pinnacle. And I just want to be Bellator, UFC, 1FC. 1FC is the goal. After this fight, I'm going to do my best and push to get to the 1FC. And I want to make as much money as I can, whoop as many people as I can, and then on my way to the UFC, and then get that little belt wrapped around. Hey, I might get belts in every promotion. Just go out there and just rack up some belts. You never know. But my goal is, like I said, beat James Bennett, get as much money as I can from fighting, get to the 1FC, and see what's that. Maybe the end of this year, beginning of next year, you'll be talking to me as a 1FC athlete.
Well, here we go. And one kind of final question for you. When I look at you, I don't really know where to put you. Like, I really don't, in the sense of like, what weight class do I put you in? Because I feel like whether it's a blessing or a curse, I don't know. But I feel like you're an in-betweener. Like, I look at you and I'm like, man, if there was like a 150-pound weight class, this would be the guy you'd want to be in it. Like 145, 155. I've seen you compete down at like 135. Like, you're talking about a huge weight variance. And so ultimately for you, I know you're a young guy, and I know you can, if you needed to, and if the money was right, I know you could probably get down to 35. I know you're not trying to do that, but I know you probably could. But where do you see yourself competing for the bulk of your career? Is like 45 your home, or do you have other ideas?
So I like 145 a lot. 145, I feel really good. I feel strong. But a lot of people, a lot of my coaches are saying that they would like to see me at 135 pounds because the champion, Aljamain Sterling, he's 5'8", I'm 5'8", and he walks around 175. I walk around 170, and they're thinking that that's going to be the best weight class for me because I'll have the size and everything. But what I'm thinking is I would love to fight at 170 pounds, just not cut no weight, and just feel good rather than having to kill myself. But I know that, but I met Kamaru Usman in my last fight, and he was the 170, and he was the 170 champ. And just me thinking, if I didn't cut no weight, I'm fighting people like this guy. And this guy he had a jacket on, but he was huge. And I was like, well, but 145 is my current home, but maybe at the higher level, the 1FC, UFC, you'll see me at 135.
All right. Well, sir, I wish you the best of luck for your fight at Anthony Pettis FC 5. It's going to be happening on June 11th, only here in a couple weeks. I wanted to give you the final word, though. If there's anyone that you'd like to shout out or thank before I let you go, I'd like for you to have that opportunity.
Definitely. So the reason that I'm able to train as frequently as I am and as hard as I am is because of my wonderful girlfriend. Her name is Dariana. She holds that thing down. She knows that I'm trying to be a professional athlete. Well, I am. She knows I'm trying to be to the UFC, trying to get to the big shows. And she dedicates a lot of her time to taking care of the baby when I'm training, when I'm working, when I'm doing this. And she makes a lot of sacrifices, and it helps me out a whole bunch. So that's the number one person I'm gonna shout out. Then my mom, my sister. But all of my sponsors, I like my guys. Some People Suck podcast. They're really cool people. I Train 360 and Kenny Bennett, and Elijah Rodney with Symbolic Photography. AMF and my guy Kobe Bridges. These are the people that that give me the ability to be where I'm at and train as hard as I am. And they're the people that's going to help me, and the people that they're going to also feel the success that I get once I make it to the UFC, once I make it to ONE FC. And then also I want to shout you out because I'm very, very honored for you to see me as enough to be on your show and take time out of your day to interview me and talk to me. So I want to thank you, man.
Well, thank you for being here, and I look forward to having you back in the very near future, Alexander Schenk.